Blessed day, soul family, earth family. Welcome back. Another edition, Resolution Thursday. Today, we talk about conflict resolution, dispute resolution systems, mitigating conflict, not escalating tensions, and some practical how-tos when it comes to contributing to the peace on the planet. I think it was Monday we talked about um, guilty, angry, depressed, guilty, angry, depressed. Those states, if you happen to be in those states, according to Marshall Rosenberg, you might be contributing to the violence on the planet. Violence to yourself. Now, could it be the case that the way that we treat people, the way that we treat others, is the way that we treat ourselves? And the way that we treat ourselves is the way that we will treat others. Are we easier on ourselves than on others? Are we harder on ourselves than on others? So today we're talking about guarding the one from the inner critic. So we'll start off with a uh, video by Marshall Rosenberg that really colors the conversation and sheds light and hopefully leads us to liberation. Let's get into it. That's not what I wanted to do, but it's okay.
Answer your question about giraffe morning. It's very important to identify what your inner educator is saying to you. See this? All of us have an inner educator whose function it is to educate us when we are less than perfect. Now, most of us made the mistake of sending our inner educator off to a brutal jackal academy for inner educators. And so it's important to be conscious of how our inner educator talks to us. So that's what I'm asking you. When you said what you did to your husband, what did your inner educator, how did your inner educator try to educate you? It said what to you about what you had done?
In the moment or later?
Either one.
Well, the point when I start to feel regret or sorry is later.
But at any point, what did you say to yourself about what you had done?
Okay. I said, I'm a bad person.
Now that's enough, you see. See, your inner educator tries to educate you through penitence, through making you hate yourself for what you've done. It uses language that implies there's such a thing as a bad person. All right. Now, if you apologize out of that energy, that's jackal. Any apology that comes out of thinking you did something wrong.
So, what is the function of an apology? What is the function of saying you're sorry? So, one of the things that I noticed um, in the matrix, in the ordinary world, in layman, and I think we'll take a look at the way people talk to each other, but let's just talk about sorry. I need an apology. I expect an apology. You should apologize. You know you should apologize, right? What does it mean when we say that we're sorry? What does it mean when we demand that someone apologizes? And is it effective in what we want? Because we have to ask what we want. And then when someone asks you to apologize, you have to ask, what is it really that you're needing? Because if it comes from a place of penitence and you are asked to blame yourself or feel shameful about yourself for what you did, that comes from a place of violence, according to Marshall Rosenberg. It might feel just, it might feel like it's fair, It might feel like it makes things right. According to Marshall Rosenberg, it contributes to the violence on the planet. So he teaches her how to talk in a way that is called giraffe morning, how to say you're sorry. Before we get to that, I want to show this, which illustrates um, the idea well, I think. It illustrates well. And what we're looking at is the emotional matrix, right? Yesterday on Wellness Wednesday, we talked about the emotional matrix. The emotion is a place where we can get hooked. It's a place where we can also get entangled. And if there's conflict that arises from the emotion and there's disconnection, disharmony, and then even thoughts or words or actions toward violence, then harmony, coexistence, and peace breaks down, right?
So, what is jackal language like? See, jackal language, as I've mentioned, is a language of moralistic judgments.
In nonviolent communication, there's giraffe language and there's jackal language. Giraffe language is that of the heart. Giraffe has the biggest heart in the animal kingdom, but it is a place of the compassion, forgiveness, love, and empathy. Jackal is that of the matrix. Jackal is the condition and the conditioning, it's the world.
You think in terms of who's right, who's wrong, who's good, who's bad. And when you mention change, yes, we want change at times. So, how do you get change in the jackal system? Watch a parent try to bring about change in the child. This is a parent teaching a young child say one of the most important words in jackal. Say you're sorry. I'm sorry. You're not really sorry. I can see it. You're not really sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I forgive you. Can you imagine a game like that? Can you imagine a parent responding to a child that way? And if a parent is going to do that to a child in their own family, what are they going to do to people from other cultures who behave in a way they don't appreciate? So, of course, you're going to have violence wherever you have this kind of thinking. In cultures that do not have this thinking, you don't see violence, you see. So, that's how we got off target. Even though we could be playing the game, make life wonderful each moment, we have been educated for quite a while to play another game. Who's right?
Who's right? So think about like all the ways and all the times that you hear people talking about various things, from the culture wars to politics, to parking spaces, um, what have you, right? Who's right is the game that we play, especially in our modern world. Who's right? Who's got the right facts and and my facts versus your facts, and that's what you have in litigation, right? Who's right? Moralistic judgments is the root of the jackal language. And you see that when a parent tries to teach a kid how to behave in the moralistic world, the necessary intervention that must be taken and the approach. And but Marshall Rosenberg has a different idea when instead of playing the game of who's right, how to contribute um, to each other, to the how to contribute to the what does he call it? Contribute to the health and the wellness of each other. And that's it's more of like a nourishment in terms of yin and yang. There's a fire way and a water way. There's a nourishing way, and then there's also a way that you think is nourishing. You're teaching, but you're teaching violence, according to Marshall Rosenberg. How does this affect the way the conflict? How does this affect the disputes that we have in our lives? How does this affect the inner critic, right? So he's talking about to the woman, once you've once you or how have you been educated to correct yourself? How have you been educated to talk to yourself, right?
Our inner educator off to a brutal jackal academy for inner educators. And so it's important to be conscious of how our inner educator talks to us. So that's what I'm asking you. When you said what you did to your husband, what did your inner educator, how did your inner educator try to educate
The
you?
importance
It said
of
what to
this,
you about what you had done?
the importance of
In the
this,
moment,
the importance of this is talking through challenging situations where we have acted, thought, said, or did some things that we are apologetic, sincerely apologetic about, in grief about, we're in mourning about, right? When you have a disagreement or you do something that affects another person and they demand an apology from you, it strips you and it strips the situation of that nourishing, caring, loving energy because all they want is their justice.
or later.
Either one.
Well, the point when I start to feel regret or sorry
Yeah.
is later.
But
So,
at any point, what did you say to yourself about what you had done?
okay. I said, I'm a bad person.
Now that's enough, you see. See, your inner educator tries to educate you through penitence, through making you hate yourself for what you've done. It uses language that implies there's such a thing as a bad person. All right. Now, if you apologize out of that energy, that's jackal. Any
Violent.
apology that comes out of thinking you did something wrong is not going to be good for you or the other person. You with me so far?
Well, I know it feels bad.
Yeah, it feels bad. And I really want you to feel bad in this situation, but I want you to feel a sweet bad. A sweet bad that will help you learn from this without hating yourself. When you have a thought in your head that you're a bad person, that's ugly bad. That's a punitive bad. That'll, first of all, make it hard to learn. And even if you do learn, it's out of self-hatred. So whatever changes you make.
So, in order to guard the one, which is to guard one another, we can't do it in a way that makes us hate ourselves or hate each other, right? And we can't continue to perpetuate the matrix life and world that perpetuates violence and this subtle violence. This is the scaffolding and the framework for violence. Because if you're taught to hate yourself, you can easily be taught to hate someone else. If you're taught to hate others, you can easily turn that inward to hate yourself. And what would happen if we're all just taught, in order to learn something, we have to hate for it. We have to hate ourselves. We have to demean ourselves or diminish ourselves to the extent where we strip ourselves of our humanity or one another of their humanity and use this type of learning strategy. We will not be able to guard the oneness. We will not be able to guard harmony or coexistence, and our disagreements and our disputes lead to violence and the lack of civility.
At great cost. So that's your inner educator. That was your inner educator speaking to you when it said you're a bad person. Now, we've been learning today that all judgments are expressions of needs, right? So your inner educator means well. It really means well. It wants you to learn from this in a way that will serve life. It means well, it's just its language that sucks. Okay? So we don't want to hear what the inner educator thinks about us. We want to hear the need that isn't getting met, that it's trying to call to our attention. So what need is your inner educator trying to bring to your attention that you didn't meet by how you behaved?
A need to be in relationship with the other person.
A need in what kind of relationship? A mutual understanding,
Yeah.
respectful.
Right.
So it didn't meet your need for respecting and understanding the other person.
Yeah.
And how do you feel when that need isn't met?
Guilty.
Then you still got the bad person image in mind. So
Yeah.
if you still think you're bad, if there's any thinking still going on, that guilt comes from the judgment.
Well, I feel separate and isolated.
But how do you feel? What emotion do you feel about not meeting your own needs for understanding and respecting? See, the guilt comes from that image of bad person, but what feeling comes from not meeting your need to
Guilty is not
respond
a
to this
feeling.
person with respect and understanding?
Sad.
That's a sweet pain. See? That's giraffe mourning.
So oftentimes,
So if you say to the person, you know, the way I talk to you, I feel really sad. It doesn't meet my need for respecting you and understanding you.
so truthfully, I've used this before. I have a need to be respectful. I have a need to uh, treat others in a way that's respectful, to give mutual respect. Don't we all have that need for respect and for mutual respect? But when you do something and you deserve some critique or uh, adjustment or correction, right? How do you correct? So if we do it in the jackal way, you can see what happens. But if we do it in the giraffe way, you can see what happens. The giraffe way is the way that guards the one. The inner critic is the jackal, right? We have to be careful because society um, leans more towards jackal. And if we bring that into our home or into our minds, one and the same, then we lose sight of guarding the critic. Let me know what you think. How do you handle legitimate disagreements? How do you handle these moments of correction? How do you handle these um, negative self talk or self correction, the inner critic, or what Marshall here says, the inner educator? So I'd love to hear what you think. Monday or tomorrow, um, we'll be we'll be doing a meditation for Fearless Friday. So hopefully in Fearless Friday, we'll be bringing this guarding of the one together into um, a little bit of a ceremony and a strategy, a prayer and a mantra for ourselves, for one another, for our soul family, for our earth family. Embrace the woo, and may your chi flow smoothly.